Can you believe that I lost my 2020 in 2020? Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shayla and I am a high school French teacher. So if you're new here, I'd like to definitely welcome you to my little corner of the internet where we talk about advice, teacher tutorials, and just motivation. So with that being said, I would like to welcome you to this channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about drum roll. You already know because you read the title. Yes, we're going to talk about creating forms or attendance register using Google Forms. Okay, so if that is definitely why you stopped by, let's go ahead and just get right into that video. One of the great features that I enjoy most with Google Forms is that once you create a register or a quiz once, you can go back in and reuse or edit that quiz as many times as you want to. Okay, so the first thing you need to know that in order for you to be able to use forms, you need to be in Google Forms. All right, so you would just go ahead and search Google Forms and then open it up. You'll come to this very screen right here. So Forms has a few templates on its own, but we're not going to use any of the templates. We're actually going to go to a blank form. So we're going to select a blank form. So once we've selected the blank form, you will see that you have to title your form. Then you have here the questions and the responses. We're going to focus on that a little bit later. And then from here, you have the, it's like a paint palette. So where you're able to customize the theme of your form. And then you have a preview and the settings where you can just adjust some things about the form. And then we have the send button that allows you to send the form or share it with whomever you want to share it. And these three dots here is just if you want to make a copy of the form just so that you can edit it a little bit later, printed or pre-filled link when you select the three dots. Okay. So here you would have this plus button that allows you to add a question. You can import a question. Let's say if you have some questions stored someplace else, you can go ahead and import those questions. You can add a title or a description. You can add an image or a video, and then we have finally add sections. So the register is the first thing we're going to create. So we're going to title our form attendance register. Okay, so I've titled it there. And then we're going to, if you notice, once I titled it up here, it changed the title inside of the questionnaire. Before I move on to writing any description, I'm going to go to the palette and I'm going to choose a header. So you can choose the themes here that Google has. You can upload something, or you can just go ahead and upload photos or select a photo from your drive. So here I'm going to upload something from Canva that I created. So when I created this banner, pretty much, or this header, I used Canva, and the pixel size was 1600 by 400 and done. So what usually happens is once you create a header, Google goes ahead and looks for a color scheme. Okay, so now you can still go in and change the theme color. So here, if I don't want this goldish color, I can go and get this green, use the green. And so it automatically gives me a selection of background colors if I want to. So I pretty much like the gold. I'm going to stick with it, but you can change it to any color that you feel would go well with your theme. I'm going to stick with the gold because it brings out my header, and that's basically it. And then I want to go down to the font style. So you can choose to stick with the basic, or you can use a decorative, formal, or playful. Playful is a pretty nice font for me, but let's look at formal. And then we have the decorative, but I am more so in love with the playful font. So once I'm done, we're going to come out the themes options. Now we go ahead and we're going to give our form a description. So in the description, I'm going to right? Fill in the date. Today's date. I gotta say, fill in today's date. Then have them select their name. And finally, answer the question below. Okay, so that basically is my instruction to the students. So now, once we're done here, I want them to move down to the first question. So I'm going to select the options that I want for the question. Okay, so do I want my question to be multiple choice, checkbox, drop down, paragraph, or short answer? So here they're actually filling in the date, so I want my question to be a short answer. So here I'm going to title my question, fill in today's date. Okay, so they're going to fill in the date. And I want this to be required. So what usually happens is if the required is not toggled on, the students can actually skip the question, okay? They can choose whether or not they want to answer the question, and we don't want that. We don't want them to skip a question. Okay, so once they're done, we're going to add a section. So with adding the section, we wanted to say that once they're done with that section, the students can now move on to section 2. Okay, so we say after section 1, they move to section 2. So section 2 is where we're going to have the attendance. So we're going to have the students check, or pretty much select your name. Okay, that's the instructions to the students. So they're going to select their name. And this section, we're going to have an option for drop down. Okay, we want the drop down. Okay, so we're going to add a question there. So we're going to have it so drop down boxes. So once the students see their name, they're going to just go ahead and select their name. So my question again, select your name. When they select their names, of course, it will take them to another section. So let's say I'm going to put 5 names. We're going to start with Josh. Expand this a bit. So of course you want to make this again required. Okay, so once students have answered, then they can go ahead and move on to the next section. So I want to add another section because once they've selected their name, they've put in the date, selected their name, they're going to answer this question. So once they're done after section 2, we want them to move on to section 3. Okay? Very important. So when we get to section 3, we want to title it and we want to say question. And here I want the students to answer question below. See, I've been out of class for too long. So now that we have our third section, or which will be our final section, we're going to go ahead and select the add question button. So this question, it isn't something that is for a grade, and I don't want the students to think too much. So it's just a fun question, just to kind of ensure that, but what type of animal is Pepper Pig? So here I'm actually going to make it a multiple choice, but my multiple choice is going to be with an image. So you can go ahead and move over and just add image. So I'm going to, you can upload an image, you can use your camera, URL, photos, Google Drive, or Google Image Search. So I'm going to use the Google Image Search option. And the first animal I'm going to use is a cat. So I'm going to search for a cat. Okay, ooh, she's pretty cute here. And then I'm going to select the insert once I've selected the picture that I want. So I'm going to select that cat as my first option, and then I'm going to add another option. So the students have 3 options to select from, and I'm going to, of course, make this required. And that's pretty much it. This is my attendance register. So the students are going to fill in today's date, select their name, and then move on, okay, to the question. And so once that's done, I'm going to say send. Here I'm going to collect email addresses so I can just send via email or using a link. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to actually use the link. I'm going to shorten my URL link, or I'm going to leave it long, whichever one works for you. So I'm going to shorten it and I'm going to copy the link. So once I'm done with copying that link, I'm going to move on to my Google Classroom. And once I get to my Google Classroom, here I'm going to paste the link here. So you can choose add, select add button link, and then paste the link, or you can just directly paste the link in the box. So add the link is attendance. And then I'm going to select post it. And so once the students come into the stream, they're going to see that I'm going to every day post my attendance, and they're going to go ahead and select it. So once they click the link, it's going to take them to the register, and this is how it shows up. So this is what the students see. So it's going to say fill in today's date, then select your name, and finally answer the question below. So what happens is once the form has been submitted, I can go over to my form, and I would see that I have one response already. So we're going to move over to the response section. So it allows me to see that somebody responded. Here I'm going to say create spreadsheet. So I can create a spreadsheet for the attendance register or select an existing spreadsheet. So if this is another day, the second day, you are going to go to select existing spreadsheet. But for me, this is the first time I'm creating a spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. Okay. So once I've created that spreadsheet, here I have the student's name, the time stamp. So that's very important. Let's say if a student decides they're not going to fill this out until maybe a week later, I get to see all of that. The date they filled it out, the time, and the answers, okay? So for each question, I get to see their responses. That's how you would go ahead and create an attendance register. If you haven't done so already, I would just love for you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you're notified every single time I upload a weekly video, which could be an advice or a tutorial. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video.